first it was ordinary, the refrigerator's hum dying mid-breath, the fan slowing into a final tired click, the house settling like it always did after midnight. She lit 2 candles and set them on the coffee table, their small flames making the living room feel like a boat floating in warm, unsteady light. Outside, the neighborhood was a black quilt, window after window unstitched. Mara didn't mind the dark. She minded what arrived with it. She lived alone in a narrow house that backed up to an abandoned rail line, a strip of weeds and gravel that cut through town like an old scar. In daylight, it was harmless. At night, it was a corridor for sounds that didn't belong to anyone. Sometimes you'd hear a bottle roll, sometimes the faint clack of metal cooling. Tonight, with the power gone, the rail line felt closer, as if darkness shortened distance. She tried to distract herself by making tea on the gas stove. The flames snapped to life, bright and confident. The kettle began to hiss. For a few minutes, she could pretend the world was normal, just temporarily dimmed. Then she heard it. A soft tapping, somewhere behind the kitchen wall. Not the frantic tick of a pipe cooling, not the scritch of a mouse. It was slow, deliberate. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps again, like someone testing a code. Mara froze, kettle in hand. The tapping stopped. She waited, breath held. Nothing. She set the kettle down with exaggerated care and walked back to the living room. The candles had burned lower, their wax pooling like pale petals. Her phone showed no service. Storm, probably. She considered going upstairs to bed early, but the idea of climbing into darkness above her felt wrong, like turning her back in a crowded room. Another sound came, this time from the direction of the front door, a faint scraping, followed by a single thump, as if something had bumped the porch step. Mara's heart began to work overtime. She reached for the flashlight she kept in a drawer and clicked it on. The beam cut a narrow tunnel through the room. The scraping returned, closer now, then stopped right at the door. She stared at the brass knob, waiting for it to turn. Instead, the mail slot clinked. Metal on metal, a tiny, polite sound, and then, through the slot, something slid inward, slowly, carefully, like a letter being delivered by someone who didn't want to be seen. A piece of paper lay on the rug, half in candlelight, half in shadow. Mara didn't move. She listened for footsteps retreating. She heard only the rail line's distant hush and the kettle's faint whisper as it cooled. Finally, she crouched, keeping the flashlight trained on the paper as if it could jump. It was a note, folded once. No envelope, no stamp, just her name written in neat block letters. Mara. Her hands were steady until she touched it. The paper felt cold, as if it had been stored in a freezer. She unfolded it. "I'm sorry, I'm late. I got lost when the lights went out." Beneath the sentence was a simple drawing, a straight line with cross ties like railroad tracks. At the end of the tracks, a square, a house, her house. Mara swallowed hard. Her first thought was that it was a prank, some neighbor being cruel for entertainment. Her second thought was worse. No one in the neighborhood knew the rail line ran directly behind her yard. It was hidden by overgrowth and a sagging fence. She turned the note over. There was more. "Don't turn the lights back on. It can see the windows when you do." As if punctuating the warning, something tapped again. 3 slow knocks. This time, not from the wall, but from the glass of the living room window behind her. Mara didn't look. She told herself not looking was a kind of control. The candle flames trembled. The room cooled. The flashlight beam shook in her grip despite her efforts. Another set of taps arrived, answering the first. 3 knocks from the kitchen, then 3 from the hallway. Like the house itself was relaying a message in code. Mara backed away from the window, keeping her eyes forward. She moved toward the center of the room, toward the candles, toward anything that felt human and small. Outside, on the rail line, something dragged slowly through the weeds, making the soft sound of gravel being rearranged. It stopped behind her fence. Then came a careful, thoughtful silence, the kind you hear when someone is deciding. Mara blew out the candles in one breath. Darkness swallowed the room, immediate and complete. In that black, she understood the note's final, unspoken line. Whatever was out there didn't want her light.